now.
Mike in the morning, ESPN Radio, delivered by the new AT&T and live on TV, ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. Those not really the words of Kobe Bryant.
No.
It's from the classic movie Slapshot, but there is all this talk out there about the possibility of Kobe Bryant getting traded. A lot of columnists across the country, including in L.A., wondering, is it a good idea for the Lakers to make a deal that would involve a guy who I think is the best player in basketball? If he's not, he's certainly awfully close. One way or another, it could be very interesting to pay attention to it, Mike. And so we've got a machine. This is not one of our little jokes.
This is a real machine.
We actually can plug in names. They plug out the salaries, and you work out trades that actually can work. So let's break down a few of these and have a little fun doing it with Jalen Rose, who's in studio with us, longtime NBA star, most recently of the Phoenix Suns, now a free agent during this offseason. So we'll see where he goes. Good to have you here, Jalen.
Thank you for having me.
It's very nice to see you.
Michigan guy. I don't really.
He went to Michigan.
Why do I have to sit next to these people?
They got to make sure I'm real close to you so I can rub it in.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. That's true. I can't say a word.
We're going to be letting y'all have it the next couple of years.
First thing he says to me, hey, good to see you again. Your team stinks.
Yeah.
Basically what he's going
They don't
around.
stink. It would be all right. Well, football-wise, yeah. But basketball, I mean, it should be fairly interesting to watch. Because we know that we like Mike Bray a lot.
That's
we'll
right.
see
Yeah.
John Beilein now at Michigan, so you guys can have it out over the course of a year. All right, here's the deal that works for the dollars. Lakers, Bulls, Jalen Rose, you tell me who does and who doesn't like this trade. Lakers would send Kobe and Andrew Bynum to Chicago for Ben Wallace, Luol Deng, and Ben Gordon.
Wow.
Who does and who doesn't do that trade?
Wow. To be honest, I think Chicago doesn't do that deal because I feel like they think they're on the cusp in the Eastern Conference of being real close to taking it to the next level. I think they feel like one or two pieces, intangible pieces, they can get it done. Maybe move a Nocioni, maybe move a Duhan, and get another player. So when you're the Los Angeles Lakers, I think you keep Kobe Bryant under this scenario, but I think the trade scenario you're describing, I think Chicago doesn't do that deal.
I agree.
For Kobe Bryant,
Chicago
you're talking about trading for Michael Jordan in his prime.
I understand that, but okay, you're bringing Bynum with you. All right, so you do keep.
So you
that
have a big man.
pressure.
How good is Bynum, Jalen? I mean, you played on the court.
I think he's a real good young player. I think he's going to be real serviceable. I don't think he's going to be the next Shaquille O'Neal, but I think he's going to be real effective over the next few years.
He fills the void, whatever it is that Wallace leaves behind.
I don't think Paxson wants to mess with what he's got going. He's got great young talent. You're throwing Wallace, not an offensive threat, but to control the paint defensively. I don't think he wants to mess with that.
Again, I think Kobe Bryant's come along once in a generation, and Luol Deng, I think, is going to be a real good player. What Ben Gordon does, he does real well. He can score.
Yeah.
But he's undersized. He's not guarding people. Kobe Bryant is not only, Jalen, I mean, talk to this. Kobe Bryant is not just a dominant offensive player. He's the best defensive guard in the NBA.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about a guy that led the league in scoring, but he also first-team all-defense, so he plays on both ends of the floor. When you talk Luol Deng, he's probably one of the best mid-range shooters in the league for a small forward. Ben Gordon is clutch at the end of a game. He's a 20-point scorer. He's going to probably get around 25 points. And Ben Wallace is going to give you, 10, 15 rebounds, 4 or 5 blocks. So it all sounds good. But let's just get Jerry West in L.A. and we keep Kobe there.
All right, so Kobe doesn't have to say.
Treat me right now.
How about what else we talked about? And it would work money wise. Straight up swap Dirk Nowitzki for Kobe.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Who doesn't do it?
Lakers
don't do it.
The Lakers don't do it. See, the one thing about Kobe Bryant is just like we saying that Kobe wants to be an elite team and he wants the Lakers to go to the next level. Well, having Kobe on your team, it puts you in a position to sell tickets. It makes the fans feel like you're an elite team because you have the best player on your team. So he's marketable. He's a great player. He's a scoring champion. He's an NBA champion. Dirk Nowitzki has really not gotten to that level yet. He's an MVP, but he has to show that he can show up in the playoff time, and that didn't happen, obviously, this season.
Be really interesting to see if Kobe Bryant winds up getting traded. We'll keep an eye on that.
I would like to just throw out what I threw out before. The number 1 pick with Portland and Greg Oden. I mean, to send Kobe there and say, okay, we get a guy that's going to be maybe the best player in the league or right there for another at least half a decade, and L.A. can have a guy that everybody says is going to be a great center but hasn't stepped on the court yet. Would either side want to do that deal?
The key is just what you said. Says there's going to be a great player. I think Greg Oden's a tremendous talent. It's going to be hard for him to live up to the expectations we have for him already. I'm hearing Bill Russell. I'm hearing Wilt Chamberlain. I'm hearing Shaquille O'Neal. And when you're not allowed to just be Greg Oden, the number 1 pick, a 19, 20-year-old kid, sometimes that pressure does a lot for you coming into the league. I think he's going to be a tremendous player. I think he's going to affect the game in a whole lot of ways. I think he's going to be a great player, but not Kobe Bryant right now. If you have Greg Oden on the Los Angeles Lakers next season, they possibly a lottery team. If you have Kobe Bryant on the team, they're at least probably going to be in the playoffs.
Mike and Jalen Rose is in studio with us here breaking down storylines around the NBA. Again, I'll just finish my thought on this by saying the NBA has proven over time to be a league where you have to have the best player to win. You have to have Tim Duncan or Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson or one of these type guys. Kobe is that guy. With all due respect, I don't know that Luol Deng is ever going to be that guy. I don't think Ben Gordon is that guy, and I have a lot of questions about whether or not Dirk Nowitzki is that guy.
But Greeny, the one thing that's changed in sports, especially in the NBA, is one-man teams are over. And when you really think back at the great dynasties, the Lakers Showtime team, they had multiple Hall of Famers on their team. They had Magic, they had Kareem, they had Worthy, they had Scott. You talk about the Celtics, they had Parrish, they had McHale. When you talk about the Bulls, they had Scottie Pippen. And those are two of the top 50 players of all time. So the one-man show thing is over. When you talk football, the Colts are a great offensive team, but they need defense to be a Super Bowl champion. The Yankees are a great hitting lineup, but they need Roger Clemens to get back into the race. So it's got to be a two-way fold. And the Lakers and having Kobe Bryant, he puts you closer there.
Listen. Don't bring facts and information into this show. None of that. That was far too astute an analysis for this program.
You could be one and done on this show with something like that.
I started to wear a wrinkled shirt and a wrinkled hat.
Yeah, you got to change
because I fit right in with you guys.
Right, let's go on the court. Let's go where you're comfortable on the court. 13 years in the NBA you've played, and when talking about the Detroit and Cleveland series, Greeny comes in losing his mind because they didn't call a foul on LeBron James. And I said, consistency, man. If they're not going to call it early, don't call it late. I'd rather have a game like that. Then you get a game last night where the fourth quarter was a whistle fest with Manu Ginobili having 11 free throws in the fourth quarter alone. They had 41 attempts as a team. It was a joke from a player side of it. Talk about both sides of that and how it affects flow of the game.
I hate to say this, but it's true. When you play in the Eastern Conference, it's more physical. It's a slower-paced game. It's probably a 90-point game at the most. When you talk about Western Conference basketball, you talk about teams that want to score over 100 points. It's the Phoenix Suns, it's the Dallas Mavericks, it's the Golden State Warriors, teams that want to score a lot of points. In the East, you have Detroit, you have Cleveland, you have Miami. Those are half-court teams. So when you play a half-court game, it's going to be more physical. And as the officials, you got to let some things go. If not, it's going to be a 70-point game like you saw the first two games in the Cleveland-Detroit series. And in the Western Conference, you're seeing 100-point games. You're seeing Darren Williams, Carlos Woods, those guys having over 30 points. In the Eastern Conference, you probably see LeBron James, because he's the best player in that series, go over 30. So in the East and the West, the games are officiated different.
All the flopping that goes on. Manu Ginobili was one of the. He should have won an Oscar last night.
Now, this is true.
Breeze hit him. But doesn't that fall on the refs to say, listen, we're not calling that garbage?
Now, this is true, and I think that's going to be a change in our game that people aren't really talking about. You talk about possibly a change with, Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw coming off the bench and other changes that may happen league-wide. I think they're going to take flopping out of the league, because now a Shaquille O'Neal could be running down the court. I could just jump in front of him and fall like I got shot with a gun, and it may be a charge.
Yeah.
So I think that's something they need to change, and Manu Ginobili has mastered it against a guy, Derek Fisher, who's mastered it too.
Yeah.
So it was great to see. It was great theater.
Vlade Divac used to do that also. It's painful
theater.
to watch. Another thing I want to get your thoughts on, because I have been really surprised at the level of criticism that has been aimed at LeBron James in these playoffs after Game 1. I love all those guys on TNT, Barkley and those guys, but I was stunned at how critical they were of his performance. And if you watched Game 3, that team is not that good. You want to talk about a one-man team. I think, particularly at the age of 22, I think the kid is unbelievable. And, of course, he had the great fourth quarter in Game 3. Your thoughts on LeBron James and some of the criticism that he's been hearing in these playoffs?
If you're a coach or a player on any level, you want your best player to be like LeBron James. He believes in his teammates when they don't believe in themselves. He's like Magic Johnson on the floor, the way he sees the court. He's an unselfish player, and he has athleticism like no one, literally. Did you see the baseline dunk in Game 2?
Oh, God, yes.
That's just bananas. That doesn't happen. He can shoot the three now. He has a mid-range jumper, and he's 22 years old. And guess what? We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that's only been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times ever.
Yeah.
So for that team to be relative it's because of LeBron James. So I give him a lot of credit for turning the entire franchise around, and they are in the Eastern Conference Finals, which says something.
All right, so let's put it this way. You've been in the league a long time. You've seen a lot of great ones come and go. I think we all agree right now at this stage of his career, the best player in the league is Kobe. Taking the big men, you have to sort of put the 7-footers in a different category of those kind of players.